It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this annual general meeting of the company. Unfortunately, our chairman has not been able to preside over the meeting due to his continued illness. The director's report and the audited statements of accounts of the company for the year ending 30th June are with you for some time past, and with your permission I propose to take them as read. Before speaking about the working of your company, I wish to share with you some of my views on important political and economic events which took place since we met last. The Watergate affair in America and consequent pressure of public opinion compelled the President of America to step down from the most powerful office in the world. This shows how mighty is the strength of public opinion in real democracy, and it should serve as an eye opener to the politicians in power in all democratic countries. The inflation in currency has created a number of problems. Prices of all commodities have risen. Many articles of daily necessities are not available in the market. All fiscal measures, controls on production and distribution, and other restrictions imposed by the government to fight inflation have failed miserably. Nationalization of coal industry has been ruinous to the industry. Today, coal is available only at the collieries, and many industries have curtailed production for want of coal. This ill-conceived measure of the government has resulted in loss of production. Unfortunately, coal is not easily available even at the increased price, with the result that the industrial units are starving of fuel and power. In order to arrest the inflation, the Reserve Bank of India resorted to some credit freeze. The bank rate was increased to 9%. So also the lending rates. This increase of interest is bound to increase further the cost of production, making it impossible for the trade and industry to reduce the price levels. Recently, the government have passed laws placing restrictions on distribution of dividends and providing for compulsory deposit of additional wages and dearness allowances. In my view, these measures will aggravate the situation. Restrictions on dividend will hamper capital formation to the detriment of industrial growth. The so-called concentration of economic power and monopoly production and distribution are being shifted from the public entrepreneurs to government. The supplementary railway budget placed in the parliament last week for an additional revenue during the current financial year by an increase in railway freights and fares will further add to the cost of production, resulting ultimately in increased prices. The problem of inflation can be solved only by an all round increase in production in factories and farms and stoppage of all wasteful expenditure. It would have been a step in the right direction in reducing the inflation if our planners had created a climate for more production. Continuous process and power intensive industries have been the worst affected due to shortage of power. We have installed at a substantial capital cost a thermal power plant and some power generating sets to overcome the power difficulty partially, but non-availability of adequate and proper quality of coal and shortage of diesel oil are causing difficulties in the smooth running of these power plants. A section of your company is adversely affected due to the difficult procurement position of raw materials. It is hoped to overcome these difficulties in due course. With continued research and development work carried on in your company's laboratory and with the opening of new units at various places in future, the profit of the company is likely to improve considerably. You may have seen from the accounts that despite adverse factors mentioned in the director's report, the working results for the year have shown considerable improvement over the last year. I am happy to say that your company has turned the corner and the working results achieved during the last year have enabled the directors to recommend payment of all arrears of dividend on all types of shares for 4 years. The working of the current year has been fairly satisfactory so far, and if the favorable trend of trade conditions continues, we may expect to have still better results in our next balance sheet. However, while striking a happy note based on improved profits of the company during the year, I would like the shareholders to keep in view the fluctuating nature of the textile and chemical industries. I therefore find it difficult to say with confidence how long this favorable trend will continue. Much will depend on the economic and fiscal policies adopted by the government. Before I conclude, I extend my sincere thanks to my colleagues on the board for their valuable cooperation in the management of the company's affairs. I also express my appreciation for the staff members of the company, both at the works and at the administrative office, for their hard work and devotion to duty, which has enabled us to achieve very good results. Dear sir, I wish to recall that you were working as our touring salesman on a pay of rupees 300 per month in our firm for some time past. Besides the pay, you were being provided with other facilities like rent-free quarters, boarding and transportation in view of the important nature of work entrusted to you. Suddenly, you left our firm, and we understand from a reliable source that you are working for some other concern contrary to the gentleman's agreement entered into between us. You ought to have given at least 3 months' notice before taking such a step. It is needless to state that your stopping away without any notice has not only caused much inconvenience and considerable loss, but also we are unable to find a suitable substitute immediately. Certain sums were paid to you for expenses while on tour without rendering regular accounts and handling over the tools and plant articles which were in your charge, you have absented from the job. Please note that this is a serious matter which we have to take up with the labor court, and you will be liable to make good all the losses incurred by us on account of your unauthorized absence. Not realizing your above mistakes, you have gone to the court against us for non-payment of salary for the past 6 months and alleging that your services were suddenly terminated without paying adequate compensation. We are really surprised to note that you have acted contrary to the established rules and procedure laid down by law. As a matter of fact, your claim will not hold good in the court of law. Further, please note that you have unnecessarily drawn us to the court of law and made us to incur substantial financial commitment. In this connection, it may not be out of place if we suggest that it is undesirable to both the parties to contest in a court of law. Instead, we can come to a satisfactory settlement between ourselves. If your views are indicated, we shall consider the same and try to arrive at a mutually acceptable and satisfactory solution.